Now that we're past the All-Star break, we're getting into the part of the season where teams are really starting to buckle down and go hard for playoff seeding, making a late push in the standings, and individually putting everything together and showing everyone what they're capable of. This is the part of the season where we see players and teams at their best, because what comes next is the war that's known as the playoffs, and especially this season, the league is as wide open as it gets. With that said, in both a culmination of their seasons as a whole, and especially in recent weeks, we've been seeing some young players really elevate their games, which brings us to the topic of today's video. For today's video, we'll be discussing 7 players in particular that at a very young age are starting to bloom into superstars in front of our very eyes, and are proving that they're going to be problems for years to come. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first young breakout superstar we'll discuss is someone who's really started to come on recently, being Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics. The hype Tatum received all the way back in his rookie season was centered around his strong postseason play, but then last year he didn't quite make the leap many expected. Just from watching him play though, you could tell he had the kind of scoring package and natural talent to score the ball at the highest level, but he was never able to put it all together on a consistent basis. That is, until recently. It all started when he dropped 41 points against the Pelicans back in January, and from that point until now, which is a 16-game stretch in total, he's averaged 27.6 points per game, while shooting a highly efficient 49.8% from the field and 44.9% from 3. It all culminated with the Celtics' most recent meeting with the Lakers, where he once again put up 41 points and showed that he's capable of scoring the ball in every imaginable way. His dribble moves are more direct and concise than ever. He's using his size and frame to finish stronger at the rim than before, and he's making threes both off the dribble and the catch at a more efficient rate than he ever has. He was named a first-time All-Star this season, and deservedly so, but based on how he's been playing lately, he's destined for much, much more. The next young player taking the leap this year that we'll discuss has been doing it from the very beginning of the season, being Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. Luka took home last year's Rookie of the Year award and on several occasions flashed the potential to be one of the truly great players in the league, but I don't think anyone thought he would be this good this quickly. In the offseason, the Mavs were seen as a fun team that would be on the rise, but not many actually thought they would be a playoff team, yet now they're firmly cemented in the playoffs, currently in 7th place, and barring a drastic drop-off to end the season, they will be playing postseason basketball. This is largely due to the leap Luka has taken, and he's been doing absolutely everything for them out on the court. He's averaging video game numbers with 29 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 8.6 assists per game, and the manner in which he goes about doing this is a joy to watch. He's very James Harden-esque with his isolation game, his step-back jumper, and how well he beats people off the dribble and attacks the basket. He's one of the main contenders that people discuss as the potential next face of the league, and if he keeps this up, then it's absolutely warranted. The next young star up for discussion is the player that Luka was actually traded for on draft night, being Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. When that trade happened and the Hawks and the Mavericks swapped these players, debates on social media roared, and people were taking sides of who was more likely to make it big time. But the thing is, they both did already in year 2. Trae may not be winning many games on a rebuilding Atlanta Hawks team, but every night he still goes out there and tries to will them to wins and can take over in a heartbeat. He's one of the only 3 players this season averaging 30 points per game, and he's also averaging over 9 assists as well, which really highlights what he excels at. He's drawn comparisons to Steph Curry since he was in high school, and while he isn't as efficient as Steph, he does possess many of the same characteristics as him. He can confidently pull a shot from anywhere on the floor at any distance, and he has the phenomenal touch in the paint around the rim with floaters and even mid-range shots. He does have a long way to go defensively, but for the time being, he more than makes up for those struggles on the offensive end, and he's truly one of the most entertaining guys in the league right now. The next young player taking the leap this season is Ben Simmons of the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben is always one of the most scrutinized young stars in the league because of the fact that he avoids shooting jump shots, but the fact of the matter is that he's shown tremendous improvement across the board in pretty much every other facet of his game this season, despite the Sixers as a whole being a team filled with guys that don't really fit with each other. The biggest area that this applies to is on the defensive end, as his name is firmly in the Defensive Player of the Year race this season, and if the season ended right now, there's a decent chance he would take it home. His combination of speed, size, defensive IQ, length, and pure ability to defend pretty much any position on the court at a high level has been massive to helping the Sixers play to their best potential. He almost always guards the opposing team's best players, and on several occasions, he's shut them down. Plus, he leads the league in steals and is third in the league in deflections per game. Then offensively, the last few months he's really taken complete control of the offense, and in the last 15 games, he's been averaging 21.9 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 7.9 assists while leading the league in steals for the season at 2.1 per game, while shooting a highly efficient 63% from the field. He's one of the best playmakers in the league right now, and if the Sixers ever got some consistent shooters around him, he could take his game even further. Next up is someone with very little experience under his belt, but there's no possible way to deny what he's been doing already, being Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion's career began with a bit of an injury scare, and the hope is that those days are behind him, but now that he's back on the court, he is every bit living up to the hype that surrounded him ever since his days in high school. He's been a basketball phenom for a while, and while most young players that receive that amount of attention flame out, Zion is exceeding expectations. He's still playing limited minutes for concern with his health, so in 28 minutes per game this year, through 12 games, he's averaging 22.8 points and is completely bullying anyone that tries to defend him. He's so unbelievably unique with his combination of size and speed, and the fact that he's as strong as he is, while also moving like a gazelle out on the court, makes him a mismatch for pretty much everyone. After dwelling in the basement for most of the season and having a pretty disappointing year, the Pelicans season has received new life, and they are now only 3 games out of the 8th seed in the playoffs. He's fun to watch, he opens things up for those around him, and he impacts his team at an elite level. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the best players in the league for a long, long time. The next player up for discussion is actually a teammate of Zion, being Brandon Ingram of the New Orleans Pelicans. Ingram is a player that, coming into the league, everyone knew had mounds of potential, but he was also very skinny and needed to both put on weight and learn how to use his length to his advantage before he could truly start to dominate. At times, it was frustrating when he struggled, but it's been a process for him to come into his own, and now in his 4th season, he's really started to put it all together consistently. On the season, he's averaging 24.5 points, and what's most impressive is how efficient he's been doing so, shooting 47% from the field and 40% from 3. 3-point shooting was always one of the biggest areas that he needed to improve in his first 3 seasons, and he never really shot them in volume until this year, but now he takes 6 threes per game and makes them at a high rate, as I just mentioned. Where he used to struggle with contact in the paint, he's now incredibly comfortable using his length to finish through contact, and taking defenders one-on-one is a mess match for him every time. He made his first All-Star game this year, and the duo of him and Zion will be fun to watch grow together for years to come. And finally, the player that we'll be discussing last in this video is Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are just a well-oiled machine year in and year out, playing great basketball. When Kawhi Leonard left in the offseason, a ton of people counted them out, yet thanks in large part to Siakam taking yet another massive leap forward as a player, they haven't missed a beat. Now that he's been fully unleashed as the #1 option of the team, he's averaging 23.7 points, 7.5 rebounds, rebounds, and 3.4 assists per game, doing a little bit of everything. When he gets going downhill, he's incredibly tough to stop because as a power forward, his speed and handle are a nightmare for many others at the position, and when you factor in the fact that you have to respect his three-point shot, it makes it even tougher to prevent him from getting where he wants. Every year he seems to improve more and more, and based on this trend, he's bound to be a problem in this league for a long time, with this just being the beginning. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below any more young players you think are taking the next step forward this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.